Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Will Empath. If you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Everyone is welcome. Everyone's inclusive. And if you're already subscribed to me, thank you so much. It really does mean quite a lot to me. Well, not quite a lot, a real lot. Today I wanted to talk about an experience that me and my husband had. Don't worry, it's very clean. My husband has been diagnosed as autistic, or as it's also known, ASD, or autistic spectrum disorder. This all happened last year. I knew there was always something different about him. I always call it his quirk. And he decided he wanted to go down the route of being diagnosed for it so he could access help, which is obviously an amazing thing to do. The way it works is, there was various meetings and forms to fill in, and just to be absolutely certain that it does or doesn't have it. So in one of the meetings, it had to be a setup of me in the room with him, with his mum, because they had to have someone with him that was from his childhood, so they could get some background information, and also his current situation. So I'm his husband, so that would make me the current situation. And in one of the meetings, we were in there with I can't remember what his job title was. Let's just call him the specialist, who's trained in all things autism, and he's also autistic himself. So we're sat there in this meeting, and I find this specialist giving me a sly glance whilst he's also speaking to my husband. And then just out of nowhere, the guy there said, "It's not often that we have the autistic person and two of his family members who also have autism." So I'm sitting there looking around thinking, well, there's only two other people here, so it must mean me and his mum. And I said, what does that mean? He said, well, judging by your mannerisms and the things you do as a comfort, i.e. twiddling my thumbs, the way that I presented myself, he says it's likely that I'm autistic as well, and that his mum is too. Now, I wasn't expecting that. But obviously thinking about it, I went away and I thought, could that be true? If so, would it answer a lot of things that I've experienced growing up and still continue to this day? And that's what's been present in my mind quite a lot. That happened in, I think it was quite late last year. That's when my husband was diagnosed as autistic. He's been diagnosed, I haven't, just to put that out there. But I have decided to go down the route of finding out if I am autistic. With autism, there's similar traits that people have with autism, but there's no two autistic people that are the same. I just want to make that absolutely clear. Obviously, my husband, he's more in what they call, actually their words were, he's more middle of the road autism, so he's medium functioning. I'm not sure where I would sit on the spectrum, but I have been to my GP and they have set the wheels in motion for me getting an autistic spectrum disorder assessment. Obviously, due to COVID and everything, I've got no idea when that's going to happen. But with these kind of things, and also with just health in general, I'm my own detective and best friend, so I tend to do some research online, which I know isn't always the best thing to do. But it was mainly verified and legit sites I was on, so obviously here in the UK we have the NHS. There's lots of really wonderful, fabulous charities that deal with autism and things. So I was looking on their websites, and there's quite a few of the autistic traits that does resonate with me. I mean, I'm not sure if you'll be able to necessarily see it right now, but I can't really focus on the camera. So I do a lot of looking around because for some odd reason I find it. I'm trying to think. There's another thing I've just thought of, so I'll come back to that. I find it quite hard to focus. I find it quite restrictive. Uh, as I speak, I'm not sure if you've noticed that as I'm doing this, and I'm trying to think of the right words to say because I've got a thing about choosing the right words, and I'm very, very, very acutely aware of how my words could be perceived as insulting or offensive or I mean even just my tone. It can come sometimes, like when I watch myself back in these videos, it seems like I'm slightly arrogant, but arrogance to me is just so foreign. It's just something that I've never been. I mean, I've been confident and like self-assured, but I've never been arrogant. I don't like arrogance. I don't like arrogant people. Um, there is a stark difference between arrogance and confidence, like self-worth and things. But I feel like I'm rabbiting on here, but I hope what I'm saying makes sense. Let me know in the comments if it does make sense. Just keep an eye on the time so I'm not going too long, because I know that there are some people that don't like to watch videos that are too long, so I'm trying to keep it as kind of condensed as possible. So that's what's been sitting with me over these past months. Part of me I mean, if I do stress if I am autistic, part of me feels angry to an extent. I feel let down because surely because I'm a regular at the doctor's, if it's for my mental health or physical health, and sometimes both, I'm quite annoyed as well that if it is true, then why has no one picked up on this? I mean, I know that autism has only really started to shine bright within the last, well, just recently, I say the last 15 years or so. That's only in my experience. But before then, it was just, from what I gather, again, just my opinion, it's not fact. Previous to that, it would just be put down to being an awkward child or a spoiled child or, various other medical reasons why you would speak, act, or just be a certain way. And then I also got to thinking, well, if it is autism that I'm dealing with here, I mean, autism and anxiety. Well, anxiety is quite a common feature for someone with autism. So, is my anxiety does that explain the autistic symptoms? Because I've always been a very, well, empathic person, but I've always been a very sensitive person. I tend to take things to heart really quickly, really easily as well. I get very emotional, and I'm not afraid to show it because there's absolutely nothing wrong with showing emotion. I just wish, not all men, but I just wish some more men were a bit more willing to show their emotions. Uh, but for some reason, some men do still tend to think that you must hide your emotions, you must be strong and not to let anything get to you. But I think in the 21st century, especially now that we're in the third decade of the 21st century, is that right? Because by the 2000s, the 2010s, and now the 2020s, so that's 3 decades, isn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong. Uh, Maths is not my not my domain. I've got many other skills, but maths is not one of them. Yeah, so I do believe that in the 21st century, men should up and up. Well, yeah, there's the common feature again. The tongue-tiedness has reared its beautiful head. Uh, in the 21st century, men should be able to show their emotions, yeah. Yeah, so that's what's been ever present in my thoughts. Yeah. And like with autism, and again, I've not been diagnosed with this. I don't know if I'm going to, but it would tend to suggest that I am. I mean, I've got quite a lot of common features that my husband has, but not all of them. He's got completely different set of characters when it comes to autism. But with mine, I get it's a bit like overload. If I've got one person talking and then another voice on the TV, and then I've got my own internal dialogue, I just cannot cope with that. It's either got to be one or two, but not all those. And I find that if I'm in a room that's full of people and then you've got 10, 20, 30 different conversations going, it gets too much for me. It's just it's like, I suppose it's like being, the only way I can describe it, it's a bit like being, well, like metaphorically speaking, in a tornado and there's just far too much going on. And then there's the sensory issues with it as well. Like I've got a really acute sense of smell, and unless things smell pleasant, I feel very uneasy. Or if there's certain smells that I don't like, it makes me feel very tense, and I start to like feel really uncomfortable, and I start to sweat. And I mean, even another thing about autism is a lot of people, when they're doing this kind of conversation, not just talking to a camera, but like talking to someone on the phone or their work colleagues or peers or people at like college and not whatnot, they tend to sweat a lot because it takes twice as much effort for an autistic person to engage in conversation, and then to constantly think about what that other person is saying, and rather than just come out with a like a person without autism would have. Whereas me and some, not all, I have to put that out there, but with me, I have to sort of compute what the person has just asked me or what they've said to me, then think about what the answer is that I'm going to give, and then think about how I'm going to word it and put it, because I quite like to talk quite clearly, quite articulate, quite eloquent. That's of course when I'm in the presence of someone out with the house. I mean, if it's or on camera. I mean, if it's in the house, I will just talk away in my natural kind of slangish tone. Yeah. So, I mean, if you would like me to elaborate a bit more on that, I'm more than willing to do that. Yeah, because when me and my husband were looking for, uh, tips or advice or insight, um, excuse me, there wasn't a lot of there wasn't like a lot of resources or literature out there in the UK to listen to. Well, not that we could find anyway. Uh, so if anyone wants to ask me any questions about my experience, or I could ask my husband about his experience and write them down for you. Yeah, I'm very willing to do that to just raise awareness of this, really, that, you know, autism isn't quite what people think, because often autistic people, there's another point that I've just remembered, often people aren't aware of just how intelligent autistic people can be, how capable they can be with dealing with certain situations, and just how beautiful they are, not just on the outside but on the inside, because the way an autistic person's mind works, and I'm only speaking from my experience and my husband's experience. I point that way because he's in the other room. Um, we are he is very articulate, very thoughtful, very empathic, because autistic people do have a tremendous amount of empathy. That's another thing that people tend to get wrong, because they do have a lot of empathy, a lot of sympathy, and they're just beautiful people, and that's that. So yeah, if you like what I've said here, if it resonates with you, comment below. Uh, if you like what I've said, give me a thumbs up, because that really helps me out. It lets me know if what I'm doing is right, if it's relatable, if it's, well, likable. So hence the thumbs up. And if you feel especially generous, hit the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate that. So I'm recording this in the morning because I've got various things coming up in the afternoon, and then I'm going out tonight. So whenever you watch this, I hope you enjoy it. Take care, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye.